everyone, this is Yana Smakula for SimonsSTM.com and welcome back for another Yippee for Yana video. Today I have a graduation card to share using some new goodies from Simon. I'm starting to work on my card by stamping the sentiment, "You're seriously one rad grad," from the Rad Grad stamp set by Kathy Zielske onto white cardstock. And this is Neenah Solar White 80 pound, and I'm using a few colors of ink to create a multicolor sentiment. I'm going to use masking here and will mask parts of my message to be able to ink each line of the sentiment in a different color of ink. I'm stamping this in the center of the panel as that's how I was planning to have it on my card. I wasn't planning to cut this message out, but later I did cut it out using a coordinating die. So here I'm using printer paper and some old washi tape to begin masking my sentiment. I've masked everything but the first line that reads "You are," and I'm inking this up and stamping in Simon's Smoke ink. After I've inked it up, I'm removing the mask and stamping this onto my white paper using my mini MISTI tool. It is helpful to use the MISTI here, as I do need my stamp to stay in the same place to be able to do multicolor inking, and I'm also double stamping my images, so again, MISTI is very helpful here. I've masked the area around the second line of my message. This one reads "Seriously one," so I have washi tape mask that covers up the top line and washi tape and paper that covers the third and fourth lines of the sentiment. As I was double stamping, I didn't position the mask precisely, so I got a little bit of the green ink, and this, by the way, is green apple ink under the third line. But that's okay, it's not too much ink there for me to start over. I'm repeating the process. I've masked up the first, second, and fourth rows, and I'm inking up my third row with yellow ink. This is Sunshine Yellow, also by Simons Stamp. When doing this sort of inking and masking, one important thing to remember is to remove the masks before stamping. I've done this many times in the past where I would mask the image, ink it up, and would forget to remove the mask and would therefore stamp the intended image and the messy mask onto my paper. So just remember to remove it when doing this sort of stamping and masking. I stamped the bottom row that reads "Grad" in barely beige ink at first, but it didn't look dark enough for me. This is a great color of ink for some subtle backgrounds, but it is a bit too light for sentiments. So I reached for the evergreen ink and I re-stamped this over with a super dark green color. So my color combo for today is gray, yellow, and green, and I think it's a nice gender-neutral color combination. I like to make funny cards, so to add a touch of humor to this card, I decided to stamp the octopus from the new Under the Sea Animals stamp set from Simon. I used my intense black ink for stamping as I was planning to color this image with Copic markers. Next, I also stamped a graduation hat because I wanted my octopus to wear it, and I used the same yellow ink color as before to ensure that everything would match. I picked just a few Copic colors to color my graduate octopus, and I went with the YG 93, 95, and 99. I like to use these greens for my greenery sometimes, and I thought that that would work really well for the octopus, and these colors would also match the stamping on my card. So I was trying to go with the Copic colors that would best work with the ink colors that I used for stamping the sentiment. And by the way, on cards, your octopi can be whatever color you want them to be. So if you want to make them yellow or gray or pink, go for it. I did very simple coloring. I'm no pro when it comes to Copics or any coloring medium for that matter, so I just do the basics. I add the shadows, add the highlights, and call it done. There are coordinating dies available, so I used mine to cut the octopus and the graduation cap out. I also later die cut the sentiment, and I love that there are dies for the sentiments in the Rad Grad stamp set. I don't have a lot of sentiment sets where I have coordinating dies to cut my stamped messages out, so I'm very excited about these new sets from Kathy. To add some detail to the octopus, I used a white gel pen and I just added some white dots. I did wait for the Copic ink to dry because if you do not wait for it to be completely dry, it will eat up your white pen and it will mute the white, and you just won't have the same result. So wait for 10 or 20 minutes before you add any white pen details to your Copic colored images. So here are parts and pieces for this card. I've die cut the sentiment using a coordinating die, and seriously guys, I'm so excited about these coordinating dies for the sentiments. All of Cassie's stamps that have coordinating dies to the sentiments are now permanently sitting on my desk as I just want to reach for them all the time. I pulled out some of my Simon's colored cardstock, and I have an A2 Smoke card base from my May card kit, and also a Fog cardstock panel that is cut to 4 by 5¼ inches. And I like to keep the card base and the front panel gray to help these images pop. To add some detail to the front panel, I'm going to use my stencil. This is Abstract Triangle stencil, and I'm going to dry emboss this in my Platinum die cutting machine from Spellbinders. I love to use stencils. They are like embossing folders, but offer that much more versatility. So here I have my machine. I've set up my base platform, my brown embossing mat, the cardstock panel, the stencil, and I'm covering this up with an embossing plate. All Spellbinders die cutting machines come with this mat and this or similar embossing plate to allow you to dry emboss with stencils or dies or even some other things. But if you have a different die cutting machine, you'll need to check the manual for your machine, and possibly you will need to get this mat to be able to emboss. And this mat does sell separately from the machine. Here is my dry embossed background. I never get tired of the magic of dry embossing. It's just so quick and easy and fabulous results every time. There are two sides to this dry embossed piece. One is more crisp than the other, but you can use whichever side you like. I'm going to assemble my card, so I'm using some score tape here to adhere my panel onto the card base. Next, because I like to pop things up, I'm going to use foam adhesive squares from Scrapbook Adhesives to foam mount the sentiment and also the octopus with the graduation cap on top. I'm using the grid lines of my cutting mat here to help me align elements and make sure I adhere them in the center of my panel. Finally, I'm going to add some colorful confetti from Simon Says Stamp to decorate this card, and I'm using rainbow confetti here, along with my Crystal Katana pickup tool and deluxe adhesive from Tonic Studios to adhere these in place. And my card is finished. I hope you guys will give this idea a try. If you do make a card inspired by this video, we'd love it if you could share your project and tag us on social media. We always enjoy seeing what you make. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up and to subscribe to this channel if you haven't yet done so. Thanks so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. Bye!